Hey guys, welcome back to Dylan's Little Hobbies, and in today's video, we are going to review Episode 2 of Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7! Now, I don't know, it kind of depends on my uploading schedule. If when I'm ready to upload this video, Episode 3 has already come out, then I might tack on just at the end of this video, Episode 3 review. With all that aside, let's go ahead and talk about Star Wars Season 7, Episode 2. So, you know what was really interesting is this whole Bad Batch arc. I absolutely enjoyed it when this was released unfinished, and it was really awesome, don't get me wrong, it was really, really cool. But just seeing it finished, along with some new and extra scenes, makes it just that much more entertainable. So, I kind of feel like because they know they're not going to have a lot of time to focus on certain characters, because the season is actually quite short. It's only like about 12 episodes, where most seasons are like 22 episodes, except for, I believe, season 6. Because they know they're not going to be able to do a whole lot, I believe that they're adding in a couple of extra scenes. And the biggest example of that is Anakin. I do not remember Anakin don't remember Anakin going on the mission to find Echo in the original release cuts that were unfinished on. Do you? Just let me get into the scene, because I thought this was just brilliant. I enjoyed it so much. So Rex and Anakin are there talking to the leader of the Bad Batch. I can't exactly remember his name, but then Rex is like, hey, if you're sure that Obi-Wan's going to approve it, let's just go. And then Anakin's like, we have something to do, Rex. And he's like, could that wait? No, it can't wait. I'm kind of paraphrasing, of course, but they go and they do their thing. What is their thing? Well, Rex hands him the helmet, and apparently the story is his helmet, his visor got broken and is being fixed by Anakin in his living quarters. What is actually going on? Rex is standing there guarding the door from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up, walks up to them, and even asks what's going on, while inside, Anakin is talking to his pregnant wife. We can tell that Padme is pregnant. That gives us an idea of the time period that this is going on into, so I really like that. This is showing that it's really close to the end of the war, close to Episode 3 of Star Wars. Which is just really, really interesting. And then, out of everything, I love the whole conversation between Padme and Anakin about Rex. I thought that was great. I also, that's the greatest thing about Star Wars: The Clone Wars. You actually get to feel sort of a relationship between Padme and Anakin. You can tell that he really loves her. Which, in the movies, I mean, of course, it's shown that he loves her, but it's not really, we don't have much time to focus on that. So I really like these small moments in the Clone Wars between Anakin and Padme, because it just makes sense. These two do eventually have kids together, after all. So it just makes sense. I loved that scene. And then when they come out, what I wasn't expecting, and it just blew me right away. This has probably made this episode so far one of my top 5 favorite episodes of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, just because of what Obi-Wan does here. So they're leaving. Anakin's like, yeah, the plan is great. We're going. Bye. And Obi-Wan stops him and says, at least I hope he said hi to Padme for me. Obi-Wan knows. Obi-Wan knows. Okay, so he might not completely know that they're having a kid together, actually twins, but Obi-Wan knows, and so does Rex. Rex knows about their relationship, and it all makes sense because Obi-Wan Kenobi, Rex, Ahsoka Tano at one point, and a couple of other characters should have known about Padme and Anakin. Only those who are the closest to Padme and Anakin would have known about their marriage. And while Obi-Wan doesn't know that they're married, at least I don't think he does, it's obvious. It's just way too obvious what he was doing in there. And I like the fact that he just called him out on it. I like the fact that he just called him out on it, tying it all into Star Wars Episode 3. I thought it was fun. But as for the rest of the mission, again, I've seen most of this in the uncut versions. It's really great to see it finalized. I really like the animation style and everything. It just brings me back to my childhood because I grew up on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and the fact is, the Anakin stuff was just a lot of fun. You can kind of tell that the Anakin stuff was a couple of extra scenes and just some scenes that they kind of just pull him in, he didn't really have much to do with the entire story, but it was fun to see Anakin, and I love him. He looks older. Like, it's really hard to explain why, because, Star Wars and Clone Wars, it's a cartoon. No one really looks older, but him with the hair and the clothes, it just makes him, in the face structure, I don't know. For some reason, it just makes him look older, which is important because he's supposed to look older, and of course he's supposed to look like the guy in Star Wars Episode 3 before he turns into Darth Vader. So I just love it. I'm just loving it. Oh, and at the end of the episode, after all of this happens, we finally get to see Echo. Now, I remember Echo in the uncut versions, and my god, I thought it looked really awesome when it was unfinished. But my god, it looks like a horror movie. It looked like a horror movie, and I don't know why I'm enjoying the animation so much on just that scene alone. He looks absolutely terrifying. I love Star Wars. Alright guys, and welcome back. You know what, it is Friday early in the morning. No, it's not, it's actually about 8:30. I just woke up, haven't even got dressed. I slept in a shirt. My hair's a mess. But you know what? I don't care. Because I got to sit down, eat a bowl of Trick cereal, my favorite cereal. And I got to sit down and watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 3. It just brings me back to my childhood. This is what I pretty much used to do when I was in high school. Not even high school. I used to do this in middle school. I love Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And in today's video, we have Episode 3 to review of Season 7. So, let's get into this. First off, you know what? I didn't really talk about it in Episode 1, but something that I really like about Star Wars: The Clone Wars is whenever they go into the worlds of other aliens, and what's really interesting is when they don't speak Basic, which Basic is, of course, in our language, English, but Star Wars, it's called Basic. Whenever you have aliens that don't speak Basic and they talk in like certain slangs and certain different sounds, it's just really interesting, and it just expands the whole lore and world of Star Wars. And it's not just Jedi and the Sith. We get to expand the lore of certain planets and certain species of aliens. It just expands the world of Star Wars. That's another reason why I love Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And in these couple of episodes of Season 7, we have this alien that the way they talk, the way they sound, it's just sounds like an alien. And that's just the coolest thing to me. I know I'm geeking over that, but what's also really interesting is the clone tech. He can translate between basic English and, of course, their language. And it's just really interesting to hear him speak, or at least try to repeat that language, and for the aliens of Star Wars, the guy in this episode, to able to, of course, hear that, understand that, speak back to him. It's just really interesting to hear Echo translate that as well. Or, not Echo, Tech translate what the alien was saying. I just think that is really, really cool. But with that aside, this episode was just a absolute fun adventure ride. Last episode, we just saved Echo. This episode, we're able to unplug him. We're able to hopefully save him, get him out of there. Unfortunately, we got a little bit stuck, and Echo has some plans to get us out. Of course, because he was plugged into a computer, he knows his way around the factory, or whatever you want to call this place. And they actually end up on this, like, pipe ledge thing, heading to hopefully a platform with hopefully a ship to steal. But unfortunately, here we go. We got a whole bunch of droids, and that's where Tech comes up with the idea of calling in those reptile bat things that the locals, like, praise as gods. He calls them over. The idea is to jump on them and ride them back away into safety. And just the whole thing with the clones, and the way they work together, especially the Bad Batch, was just fun to see in this episode. With that said, this is a complete nitpick, but it's a nitpick, but it is something that I want to talk about nonetheless. The fact is, I kind of feel like they're downsizing Anakin's abilities. Now, whether or not that could be because in Star Wars Episode 3, we don't see many of those weird, crazy abilities as we do in Star Wars The Clone Wars, mostly because you can do a lot more in animation versus live action. But, I mean, for example, just the way he moves, the way he jumps, I've seen Anakin in Star Wars The Clone Wars do a whole lot crazier flips and jumps and movements, and I just don't know why we're not seeing that here. And another thing that I kind of feel like, in the last episode, he got captured way too easily by the bats, by the locals, by the aliens. And another thing is that in this episode, Jedi have the ability to, call upon and connect to animals. I mean, Ezran in Star Wars Rebels is able to do that, and he's not even a full-fledged Jedi. And we see that Obi-Wan can do this in Episode 3. We see that Anakin can do this in Episode 2 when he does it with the rhinoceros creature. I don't remember the name of it, but here's a picture of it. Jedi can connect to animals using the Force, and while they can't control them, they can basically befriend them and tell them what to do. And I just thought it was weird that Anakin couldn't do that with these bat creatures. He's like, okay, how do I steer this thing? I mean, it's a nitpick. I feel like they're downsizing some of his abilities. But again, that is like the stupidest nitpick I could come up with. And, I mean, aside from that, this episode was brilliant, was amazing. What's really fun is at the very end of it, when you have Echo standing there in front of the ship. Rex says, just like old times, right? And Echo's just standing there with this look on his face, and he's like, just like old times. And Something that I can't, you know what? Of course, I've seen these episodes in the uncut versions, but I can't remember everything. It's been so long since I've seen them. Remember, Echo has spent a lot of time as a computer. It's not impossible to think that the separatist might have done something to his brain to track him, or put like switches in his brain where if they press a button, he becomes nothing more but a biological slave droid where he can cause a lot of problems for us, the good guys, for the Jedi, for the Republic. That could be really, really dangerous. What are we going to do about Echo if he turns on us? That, to me, is just something really interesting. What do you guys think about that? I love this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what do you think about this episode, because I thought it was brilliant. Thank you guys for watching, and I am out.